你個邋遢蟲，我睇你冇洗手添啊！我絕對冇洗過。
你仆街！喐佢！
Hey guys, welcome to another DaVinci Resolve 16 editing tutorial. In this video I'm going to be showing you how to create a retro VHS look and effect inside of Resolve. That clip you just saw was a snippet from a short video I got to help film last month, which was inspired by 80s Hong Kong action films. I'll have a link to the full video in the description below if you're interested in watching it. Also, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell to stay notified for my next uploads. Now, there are a few things to consider when doing the VHS look. Do you want it applied for the whole timeline or parts of your project? Also, how intense or damaged you want the VHS effect to be. I have added in my clips in the timeline and have given it a quick color correction. I've also added in some VHS effect overlays which you can download for free from Cinepacks. I'll be putting a link in the description below. The pack also comes with the 4:3 aspect ratio bars. The aspect ratio for VHS is 4:3, so the first thing you would want to do is change the timeline to that. So there's two ways you can do it. You can use these 4:3 bars, or you can change the whole timeline to have the 4:3 aspect ratio. And to do that for the whole timeline, just go to the top to timeline, go down to output blanking, and we're going to check 1.33, and that will give you the crop bars. So if you want to add 4:3 aspect ratio bars to a few of your clips and not the whole timeline, you can just drag and drop your crop bars and adjust for how long you want the bars to stay on for. For this tutorial, I'm just going to do the whole timeline, and depending on which crop bars you have, if you've got the one that I've added in the description below, it'll have the white background, and to get rid of that, you want to select the clip. Make sure your inspector tab is open, go down to composite mode, and we're going to change it from normal to multiply. So I'm just going to put this to video layer 4, and then the next thing you want to do is you want to go down to effects. You want to make sure your effects library is open. We're going to go over to effects, adjustment clip, then we're going to go over to the color tab, and you want to make sure that your adjustment clip is selected. Now I'm going to go over to the node section. If that's not open, you can just check the nodes at the top here, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a corrector node. Just going to add that in, and then I'm going to add another corrector node. The first corrector, I'm just going to do a very quick contrast curve because VHS didn't have a lot of dynamic range. So I'm just going to increase the highlights a bit, and I'm going to crush the blacks to about there, maybe a bit more. Might push the highlights a bit more, about there. I'm just going to adjust the saturation at the bottom here because a lot of VHS tapes were a little bit more saturated. And then I'm going to go over to the second node, and I'm going to go over to this blur section. So this next thing we're going to do is we're going to create like a fringing sort of effect, because VHS had this interesting like ghosting effects and fringes. I'll be showing you what it looks like. So I'm going to make it a bit blurrier. So I'm just going to push it to about there, 0.63. Then I'm going to go over to 3, and I'm just going to adjust the sharpness, and I'm going to make it really heavy so you can see that there's a very heavy outline and fringe around the white parts and the darker parts of the image. It almost looks like a cartoon sort of effect if you want to compare it to that. So I'm going to make sure I have the third node selected, and I'm going to go to the top here, and I'm going to go to nodes, and I'm going to add a splitter combiner node. So this is where we're going to add some chromatic aberrations. Cool, so the top one is the red channel, green and blue. We're just going to affect the red channel. And then we're going to go down to sizing and make sure that the fourth dot is selected for node sizing. And I might just zoom in a little bit, and I'm just going to adjust the pan just so we can see a split in the red and blue channel, which is what you can see here. And you can create multiple adjustment clips so you can adjust the different intensities of these effects if this is too much for you. But I'm fairly happy with this result. And I'm just going to go over to the edit tab, and now we're going to add our VHS effects damage overlay. So might go with this one, and I'm just going to click and drag. Make that smaller. And to get rid of the black, I'm just going to make sure that it's selected, and I'm going to go over to the inspector tab, go to the composite mode and change that from normal to linear dodge, and now you've got a VHS overlay effect, and that's how you can do it for free inside of Resolve. There are a few more things you can adjust to make the effect pop a bit more, but you'll need to have the studio version. If you don't have the studio version, this is actually a really good alternative, and you can pretty much stop it here if you wanted it to. So I'm just going to move these up another layer so I can add another adjustment clip, just so I can separate the first effect and this new effect that we're going to be adding on top. So make sure you got this selected. Let's go over to Open Effects, and we'll scroll all the way down to Analog Damage. Let's just add that. I'm just going to turn off Video Layer 4, the VHS overlay effect for now. And I'm just going to go to Adjustment Clip, and I'm going to go to Open Effects, and you can change the presets to 1980s or clean VHS or old VHS, but I like to adjust a few little things. First thing we're going to adjust is scan lines. You can see the intensity of the line, so it's almost creating interlaced sort of lines. I don't want the lines to be too intense, I want it to be fairly subtle. And then I'm going to go down to line frequency, and you can adjust how big the lines are and how small. I don't want it to be too small, might bring it to about there. And I'm just going to check the colored lines, which will create a shift in the RGB, so you see a bit of chromatic aberrations in the line as well. Then I'm going to go down to VHS, and I'm just going to zoom this out, and then I'm going to adjust the restless foot height, which will create a little bit of a glitch in the VHS tape. Then go down to restless foot offset and just adjust it. You can choose how intense you want it to be. I just want it to be fairly subtle, so around 220 is fine. And then the restless foot jitter, this will make it jittery, so I don't want it to be too intense, so about 1.6 is good. I'm just going to play just so you can see the jitter. The computer's a bit laggy, so I apologize, but you can see there's a bit of a jitter at the bottom there. And then one more thing I'm going to adjust. I'm going to go over to the top, and I'm going to adjust the broadcast signal. And I'm not going to worry about all of this, I'm just going to add some ghosting. I'm just going to crank it all the way up, and you can see that there is a duplicate image. One's the color and one's like a black and white shifted image. So I don't want it to be too intense, so I'm going to bring that down just so we see a little bit of some ghosting happening. And then I'm going to adjust the ghost offset. So I'm just going to bring this up for now just so you can see. So I'm going to adjust the offset, so instead of it being out here, we're just going to do it very subtly. So 0.135 is good, and I'm just going to adjust the intensity to about there is good. I'm just going to turn the video layer 4 back on. So yeah, that's how you can achieve the VHS effect inside of DaVinci Resolve. I like to combine all of these techniques that I've just shown you, but if you don't have the studio version, you can just use the technique I showed you in the first adjustment clip. I hope you guys have found this tutorial helpful. If so, give this video a like, hit the subscribe button, and click the notification bell to stay notified for my next uploads. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.